Hi guys, I'm sure you all had fun at your storytelling class, which was the first class of this beginner's class. And today we're going to be talking about characterization. In storytelling class, I'm sure you learned that you have to tell a story about something or someone. And so if you're going to tell a story about something or someone, then we need to talk about the something or someone, which is why we're talking about characterization today. So what is characterization? Before we explore that, I would like for us to talk about characters. What do we mean by characters? Characters are the people or the something that you're telling a story about. So characters are, for example, if you say, oh, let me give you a gist. I went to see so-so person. The so-so person that you have mentioned is your character. You are telling a story about the character. When we talk about characters, we're saying that who are these characters? What are they about? Where do they come from? What do they like? What they don't like? Their flaws, their strengths, their weaknesses, basically everything about the character. If you're going to tell a story, you need to know your characters. You need to know your characters like the back of your hand. You need to know what they can do and what they cannot do. Those are things that we want to explore in this particular class. And in this class, we're talking about creating your characters. So usually, if you're going to talk about your characters, you need to create a template for your characters. Now, the template helps you to be able to define your characters. It helps you to be able to know your characters specifically, especially when you're creating lots of characters. So first thing is the name. What is the name of your character? Why did you choose the name that you've chosen? Where are they from? Sometimes ethnicity influences the kind of name that you choose. Are they English, or are they Spanish, or are they Igbo or Yoruba or Ghanaian? Where are they from? That would influence the kind of name. The background or the backstory of the character will influence the kind of name. A character can be from Ghana but has a British father, and so he has a Ghanaian first name but a British surname. So that would influence all of that. You need to know your characters. The name of your character is very important. After the name, then what's the age of the character? How old is your character? Is your character male or female? Then you talk about physical attributes. Are they tall? Are they short? Are they slim or on the plump side? What do they look like physically? Do they have a scar? Do they not have a scar? Do they have a birthmark on them? Or do they have tattoos all over their body? All of that is important. Then you talk about language. Do they speak English? Are they illiterate? Do they just speak their native language? What kind of language do they speak? Because again, the language will influence your dialogue. How do they talk? And then you talk about backstory. The backstory is, before we go into the backstory, let's talk about the dominant impressions. So the first impression that you have of your character. The dominant impression is the first time you see your character, or the first time that I see the character as the audience. What do I see? Do they come across as cocky? Do they come across as sweet? Do they come across as fearful or timid? Are they hurty? Are they calm and reserved? What is the first impression that we have of your character? Now, when we talk about dominant attributes, we're talking about how do they see life. So are they the kinds of people that they feel live and let live, like do your thing and I'll do my thing, everybody's okay? Or are they the kind of people that feel like money makes the world go round? So you know that this character is driven by money. Everything that they do is driven by money. What do they believe in? Basically, that's your dominant attribute. What does your character believe in? How do they see life? How do they see other people? Then compelling attributes. Why is this character compelling? Why? What makes this character compelling? So is this person, like when you're having a bad day, this person is like a ray of sunshine. The moment the person walks in, everybody's okay and everybody's happy. That makes that character. Not everybody has the ability to do that. So that makes that character compelling. Is this person the kind of person that in the face of anything, they would hold fast. In the face of anything, they would be calm. No matter what is going on around them, if people are dying around them, they are very calm. that makes that character compelling, because not everybody can do that. So what makes your character compelling? You need to ask yourself that question. Then you now have the backstory. So where does this character hail from? What are the different things that have happened to this character to make this character who they are now in your story? What have they gone through? What kinds of schools did they go? What kinds of friends have they met? What are the things that have happened in their past to influence the way that they see life now? You need to know the backstory of your characters. Sometimes that will reflect in how you write your script, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily reflect. It just makes you know the character. You need to know your characters. If you don't know your characters, you can't tell a compelling story. So we've created the characters, who they are, what they do. What do they do? What kind of occupation do they do? Are they students? Are they upwardly mobile people? Do they work in a bank, or do they work in a bar? What jobs do they do? You need to know what jobs your characters. I watch a lot of films where I don't know what they do. I like to know what the characters do. What do they do? You just don't see people wake up and go to bed every day doing nothing. No. People have jobs. People go out. People make a living. What do they do? Now that you know your characters, now that you've created this character, what kind of characters are they really? Are they, in quote, good, or are they bad? Now, a lot of times, or in the past, growing up, I used to watch films and you say, the actor. For those who are not Nigerians, when I speak in Pidgin, that will be translated so that you can get the meaning of what I'm saying. But growing up, I used to watch a lot of films where they say, oh, actor no they die. That means that the lead character never dies. So you know that, and usually those actors are very, very good. They are good. They are good all the way. Then you have the bad guys. That's the villain. Or if you're going to use the English, the antagonist. So the lead character is your protagonist and the bad guy is your antagonist, basically. And so you have that two extremes where you have your protagonist and your antagonist, the good guy and the bad guy. But as filmmaking has evolved, you find that, humanly speaking, nobody is really totally, entirely bad. Okay, maybe there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, nobody is entirely good and nobody is entirely bad. And good people do bad stuff and bad people do good stuff. So this is where we come to creating characters that have a moral argument. You will also find that people who, even when characters do bad things, they believe that what they are doing is right. So let me give you an example. This is a true life story, by the way. When Hitler was going for the Jews, Hitler actually believed that getting rid of the Jews was a just and right thing to do. He just felt like these people had too much power, these people were growing too much, and I need to get rid of them. And so his life mission was to kill Jews. Now, people who met, history has it, people who met Hitler, like who were in the same room with him or who had the opportunity to meet him, they said that he was very charming, very charismatic, very compelling. That was the kind of leader that he was. So you find this person, this character, Hitler, in quote, who is charming, charismatic, compelling, but his life mission, his goal was to get rid of the Jews, which is another thing that I forgot to mention. Your character must have a goal. What does your character want? Otherwise, why are we here? There's no point being here. There's no reason for us to be here. I need to know what your character wants. From the very first few minutes of your story, I need to know this is what your character wants, because that is what drives the whole narrative. What does your character want? What is his life mission and goal? What is he aiming for? What is that thing that drives him, that makes him wake up every single day and say, I'm going to pursue this thing? You must know what your character wants. And so go back to Hitler, whose life mission is to kill all the Jews in this world, right? But then we found that this guy is not entirely bad. People who have had relationship or who had the opportunity to have a relationship with him tell you he's compelling, he's charismatic, he's nice, he's charming and everything. But to some other people, he's a bad person. So you must have a moral argument for your characters. Why are they doing what they are doing? The next class is going to go into details of all that, you know, why are you creating this character, motivation and all of that. So I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but you need to know why they're doing what they're doing. You need to give them a reason, even if what they're doing is bad to you, even if morally speaking, what they're doing is bad. But to the character, the why has to be strong. The why has to be justifiable. The why has to be believable to them. That's the moral argument of your character. The characters have to be rounded. Like I said, there is no good person entirely and there's no bad person entirely. Not in this world. Good people do bad stuff. Bad people do good stuff. That's what you mean by having rounded characters, rich characters, 360 characters, 3D characters, not just two-dimension characters, that they're all just good. No, nobody's just all good. Besides, good doesn't make for interesting drama. That's just be clear about that. Because if you think about it, most of the films that you watch, be truthful to yourself. You like the villains, don't you? You like the bad guys. You like those guys that are doing the bad stuff, like, yes. Even though you want the good guy to get rid of them or to finish them off. But the truth is, you still like those bad guys. Why? Why do you like them? You need to ask your question. You need to ask yourself that question. Why? Because they're compelling. Because there's something about them. There's something about what they believe that drives them. Now, there's a saying that drama is conflict. Drama is conflict. Why do we say that? It's because, like I said, when you're creating your characters, they need to have goals. Now, if they have goals, that's fine. I mean, it's important, very important that they have goals, yes. But then why are we here? What are we watching? What we are watching is the journey of how this character wants to achieve this goal and the many obstacles that are thrown in the path of this character. So drama being conflict means that for every time your character is trying to achieve their goal, you must throw obstacles on their way. They must have conflict. There must be a debate, some decision that they want to make or they don't want to make. When they make that decision, what happens? When that happens, what happens next after that, you know? And you find that there are a sequence of events that begin to occur just because the character made a particular decision. Sometimes we want them to achieve their goals. Sometimes we don't want them to achieve their goals. So drama is conflict. And that brings me also to the character's journey or the character's arc. When a character, you know, starts off in your story, where are they? Are they lazy and don't give a care in the world and are just living their lives until, you know, life happens, something happens, somebody probably throws a bomb in their area, or Twitter is banned, or, you know, something happens, and then before you know it, they are forced to take a decision. And then because they are forced to take that decision, then you find that sequence of events begin to occur. And now they are on this journey. And by the end of that journey, you find that this character who was lazy, who didn't give a care in the world, who just wanted to be left alone, now cares for the world, is now hardworking, is no longer selfish, and is trying to make sure that the world is safe. That is a journey. So you need to be clear-cut when you start your story. And I'm sure you've learned this in storytelling class, that your story must have a beginning, a clear middle, and a clear ending. So when you start your story and you start with your character, at this point, where do you want to take that character to? On what journey do you want to take that character to? You need to be clear-cut on what that journey is going to be. Very important. And in the process of taking that character on this journey, you need to be true to the character. If you have told us that this character is selfish and crazy and doesn't give a care in the world, this character is arrogant, this character only thinks about himself, if you've set that up beautifully well, then you need to maintain that. And if that character is going to change at the end of the story, then you need to show us. There has to be things, or there have to be things that will happen to this character to evoke that change. The character just can't wake up and suddenly change. No, then you're not being true to the character. You need to be true to the character. So if this character has started from this point and you want to move this character from point A to point D or point Z, how do you do that? You need to be true to that character. That character has to be true to form. If you're going to change your character, then you need to put something, there has to be some external factor, some catalyst, something that causes that change, especially if it's a 360 change, and we need to believe it. If you're watching it as the audience, we need to believe it. You can't just come and, bamboozle us. We will not be bamboozled, which is why sometimes you watch a film and you're wondering, please, how they move from this place to this place? Maybe we were here before. Why are we here now? You always have that feeling. If you have that feeling, this is what has happened, because you don't believe that this character that you have set up from in the beginning is now here. No, because you've not been part of that character's journey. So be true to your character. Very important. Be very true to your character. Let your characters evolve naturally if they are going to evolve. If you don't want them to evolve, and not all characters have to evolve. For example, Thanos did not evolve. Thanos in Avengers did not evolve. Thanos was a bad guy. He was a badass guy from the beginning until the very end. He was still a badass guy. Do we understand? So be true to your character. Now, when you're telling your story, there are different kinds of character. I already said that. But then again, the way you have your A stories, your B stories, C stories, sometimes even D stories, depending on what kind of story you're telling, you also have different kinds of characters. So you have characters that are the main characters or the lead characters. And those are the people that you were really focusing on. They are the people that you are following their story. Now you have your B characters or your supporting characters. Those are the people that, for example, say you have husband and wife and you want to tell the story of maybe the marriage in chaos and whatever, what have you. We want to talk about their marriage. We want to follow the story of their marriage. The B characters or the supporting characters can now be, maybe the husband has one friend and the wife has one friend that they always bounce ideas or their thoughts off. Those are the supporting characters, right? Now, you can have your C stories, maybe your C characters, the bartender, the extras, the people that might not necessarily have speaking roles, but somehow in the process of this storytelling, they're involved one way or another, whether just through visuals or maybe one-liners or what have you. Those are your C characters. So there are different kinds of characters in your storytelling process. One more thing before I round off this class. Now, when you're creating your story, you need to be clear of the fact that there are certain kinds of characters that you cannot create for certain kinds of genres. So let me give you an example. If you want to write a rom-com, for example, which is a kind of genre, and then you want to create an antagonist, you cannot create a Dark Knight for a rom-com. It's no longer a rom-com. You've changed the entire genre. You need to be clear on the kind of genre that you're writing and the kind of characters that you're creating for the genre that you're writing. From your story, you should already be able to figure out what genre is this. And then it will help you in terms of creating the characters that you want to create. In today's class, we've learned about how to create your characters. We've learned about the template of creating your characters and how those characters need to be rounded. They need to have the right moral justification for whatever it is that they're doing. We've talked about their goals. We talked about putting obstacles in the process of them achieving those goals. You must put obstacles because drama is conflict. If they don't have obstacles, then there's no point. There's no reason for us to be here. What are we watching? Okay? So it is important that you give them goals. It's important that you throw conflicts in the path of those goals. It's important that you are also true to your characters. Let them evolve naturally. Let them evolve. Don't just come and bamboozle us. Don't bamboozle us. Allow them to evolve naturally. Also, be true to the genre that you have created. The characters that you create, it's important that you create those characters so that they fit the genre that you were writing or the story that you're telling. You've also learned that you can have multiple characters in a story. You can have your A characters or your main characters, your B characters or your supporting characters, then your C characters, many like that. As many characters as you can create. Okay, but budget-wise, think of budget. But just tell your story and create very rich characters, very interesting, engaging, fun, rounded characters so that at the end of the day, you can have an amazing story. I hope you enjoyed this class. I will definitely see you in the next one. Take care of yourself. Bye.